The title kin refers to family, essentially, and these are a kind of a family of works because they are created within a time frame of 2.5 years. And they're all based underlying 3, 4, 5 circles, which are all interconnected. Because this is not a conceptual work where a concept is illustrated or an idea illustrated. It's the evidence of a process that happens here in my studio. When you look at a painting, you're not necessarily asked to look through the surface for meaning. The surface is enough. I had an incident here in Milan where the door opened and there was a barber, in fact, and he sort of wandered into the studio. And he said, "Oh, I see what it is, but what does it signify?" And this was asked in such an innocent and non-threatening, non-bourgeois kind of way that I was able to have time to think about what I meant by it. So I said, it signifies that it is what I spend my time doing. And that's all it signifies, and it's all it needs to signify. This exhibition is really divided into 2 parts. There is the 10 paintings, or perhaps 9 or 8, depending how many we hang. And there is the works on paper, which were made in Japan. I have the privilege of being able to collaborate at a paper mill in the west of Japan, in deep countryside in a place called Fukui. And I've worked with this group of people for the last 20 years, kind of refining what I do, using dyed paper pulp and molds to contain the areas of colour. Their normal working practice is making large sheets of white paper. They make paper for the Japanese imperial family. And 4 or 5 of us will work as a team to make these large sheets of paper, which is kind of interesting because I don't speak Japanese, but it's a visual language. There is a writer called Yuichiro Tanizaki who's written a book called The Makioka Sisters, and there was a phrase in the Makioka Sisters which really struck me. It was describing a grass bank outside a Japanese house, and he said it had a soft austerity. And it sounds like a kind of oxymoron, but I realised it's kind of what I try to achieve. One of the reasons for Italy, for being in Italy, is the history of art. The paintings I look at are Piero della Francesca, Bellini, Mantegna. If you look at Bellini and you look at the kind of negative spaces between an arm and the torso and how they're painted with more paint on them than the painting of the form itself, the negative spaces, you realise you're playing a game that has been played for a very long time, and the rules are not so different. If somebody from the Renaissance came in my studio, I don't think there'd be anything they wouldn't very much recognise.
It's so stupid saying painting is dead. Some painters are dead, of course. That's different.
The first colour is no problem, because it can be any colour you like. The second colour is a little bit of a problem, and the third colour is a big problem. And it's that balance between those three colours and how they relate to the forms that they occupy and how those forms relate to the border of the picture plane, which are the problems that painters have been solving since painting began. When you submerge in time making, because time, it doesn't really exist when you're making, and the problems that roll around in your brain are very simple. That colour is too light, that colour is too cold, that doesn't work with that. How can I make it better? And better is a peculiar word, because who is going to define it? Well, it's me on my own when I work on my own. That painting, which starts maybe with 3 almost random colours, will be painted over and over and over again. But the thing is to try to continue to put paint on a painting in this attempt to find this precarious kind of balance, this slightly unbalanced balance of colour and form, and to keep everything as if it had just been painted with the first colour, so that it doesn't get refined and polished out of existence.